Welcome to BizBlend listeners, the space where we peel back the polished veneer of business success and explore the true complexity of scaling ventures, making decisions, and also shaping the future. I'm your host, Sai, as always. Now, think about this. It's kind of reflective, but we all live with a constant humming uncertainty now. Every news cycle brings a new AI breakthrough. Every funding round seems more chaotic than the last one. And every long term strategy feels like it's written in pencil. The ground is shifting. The biggest challenge for any leader isn't just reacting to change, it is predicting change and then acting with conviction in that ambiguity. So, the question is, how do you find certainty when the information environment is a constant, the swirling storm of data, noise, and also bias? Well, to help us with the answering this question, today we are speaking with a guest who has made the business of making better decisions with his life's work. Listeners, my guest Michael Ulin has been instrumental in building three high impact AI companies from the ground up, collectively raising over $78 million. dollars. From pioneering climate risk modeling at Zesty AI to scaling Paxton AI, and now leading Tenki AI to achieve remarkable forecasting accuracy, Michael doesn't just talk about the future, listeners. He builds the infrastructure to predict it. And he's taking rigorous methods like game theory, super forecasting, and also proving that AI can actually move beyond pattern matching to genuine probabilistic reasoning. So listeners, let's get ready to this very exciting conversation. And Michael, welcome to this plan. I'm really excited to have you here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Great to be here.
Super. Okay, Michael, let's begin with. I mean, you have helped raise north of $78 million, and right now, it's kind of a bubble, probably that we are in. That every pitch deck it claims to be an quote unquote AI company, making it incredibly difficult for real innovation to stand out. So, from your position, what is the single most overrated claim you hear about AI founders today? And then what's the most underrated reality that separates a successful Series A from a spectacular failure?
Yeah, interesting question. You know, I I see a lot today of uh, our company is special just because we do AI, or there's a lot of initiatives in companies around like having an AI initiative or how are we going to adopt AI. And I think that's the wrong. I think that's just the wrong way to approach this. Like I still think the fundamentals of building a successful company, of having a successful product, are solve a problem for customers that matters to them. So I think a lot of the companies that are just leading with, hey, we're an AI company. Look at all the cool stuff we can do with AI. Uh, you'll get some attention from that. I think it's getting increasingly harder to just stand out from a lot of companies, but the ones that I think do well, and I think the way to stand out with your customers is to focus on the job to be done or the problem to be solved. That that hasn't changed with this new technological wave, and I think the folks who focus on solving a real pain point, solving a real problem for their customers, and then finding the best tool to solve that. And if it happens to be AI, I think that's a really great place to be. But it should always be in service of solving a problem or a customer pain point, not just doing AI for the sake of doing AI.
Hmm. No, that absolutely makes sense. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Michael, this is something that we have also kind of seen during the dot com boom as well. I mean, anything like with dot com, It's like, it's investable. It's ready for investment and ready to get launched and get all that hype and everything. But then at some point, that entire bubble got completely bust.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a similar pattern with every, new technology. There's a burst of initial excitement, perhaps overinvestment. A lot of new people pour into the industry, and a lot of use cases that don't pan out and get funded. Um, but I think after that whole process occurs, the real companies, the real use cases start to emerge. Uh, and it's just kind of a pattern that occurs with every new technology. So, yeah, to your point about the dot com boom, like, early on in that cycle, we saw all the companies like eBay.com, Yahoo.com. They had .com as part of their, and you don't really see that anymore. It's just, being on the internet is just assumed as part of operating a company today. And I think we'll see that too with AI. Uh, you know, Perhaps like we won't have AI in the names of the companies because every company will need an AI strategy or an AI offering, just like every company has a website or every company has a mobile presence. So I think as part of the way these things just get normalized and integrated into our daily life, it won't be as special to be an AI company. It'll be table stakes for doing business.
That makes sense. Makes sense, Michael. Okay, now this is something that I'm really finding it interesting. Like, AI forecasting evolution and also limits at the same time. Now, when it comes to AI forecasting, everyone loves, big accuracy numbers and bold claims. But from your vantage point, Michael, what's the real state of AI's ability to reason probabilistically, not just mimic patterns? Like, where are we actually overestimating, or maybe underestimating what AI can do?
Yeah, I think our use case of applying AI to forecasting is like super interesting. It's been something that I've done throughout my career. First at McKinsey and Company, when we would build market forecasts for our clients, and then at Zesty AI, where we built the first AI underwriting and pricing models for the property insurance industry in the U.S. Um,
Mhm.
you know, it's my belief that all models are bad, but some models are useful. So every model, whether it's an AI model or some of the older statistical models that we used to use, it's an approximation. Uh, it's an approximation of reality. It's not reality itself. So, of course, there's going to be errors. Of course, it's not going to capture the full complexity of the real world. But it is our belief that uh, the models today are sufficiently complex, sufficiently capable of modeling nonlinear patterns, that it can produce really accurate forecasts that are useful in decision making. And forecasting is just decision making under uncertainty. So helping people helping people understand what are the potential outcomes of a given decision or a given market or a given question, and then assigning a level of probability or uncertainty to them. We believe that's a valuable exercise and one that's done today, just with economists or statisticians who are expensive, take a lot of time. And give you just a static forecast because it's a lot of effort to produce. And we believe AI agents are at the point where we can use a lot of these methodologies that have been proven out in fields like economics, political science, game theory, and have AI agents apply them at scale rapidly and for a fraction of the cost so that we can enable these rigorous forecasting methodologies more broadly. So I think we're at this point in time where we have PhD level reasoning, intelligence available via an API call, and then harnessing that to have it do proper forecasting and using these frameworks, I think is something that only recently became possible, and it's what we're tackling at Tenki AI, starting with prediction markets like Kalshi and Polymarket.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, 10,000 plus real prediction market questions, and then, 76% accuracy. I think that is a realistic take on this, not kind of a boisterous one. Um, and also, you know, when we, talk about startups, I think this is such an important question. Um, because you have helped, raise $78 million, and you have also built multiple startups. Um, like, what's the truth about fundraising or scaling that, founders don't wish to talk about? Maybe not because it's a secret, but because it's kind of uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's very, fundraising, company building. It's hard, and I don't know. I don't know that it gets any easier the more you do it. You just get more comfortable with the uncertainty. You can at least you can at least be comfortable that the fact that the journey is hard is something that you're expecting. But every time I do this, I learn something new, and the world changes in some way. So it's still hard, even if you've done it a couple times. You just get used to how hard it is. I think that's what makes it somewhat easier as a repeat founder. But um,
Mhm.
you know, my first company, I had to learn this. I learned this hard lesson that you know, no matter how much effort you put in, if you're going into the if you're going in the wrong direction, it doesn't matter. And that was very different from the worlds that I came from academia, from corporate America, where there's kind of this ladder laid out before you, and if you put in a lot of hard work, if you're reasonably smart, you can climb that ladder. Um, but going into startups and starting companies, that way of operating didn't apply. Like my first company that ultimately became Zesty AI, we were going in a completely different direction. We were building an online marketplace for solar panels, and we worked at that for a couple of years, and it didn't take off. And I remember just putting so much effort, so much of myself into that, and and having it not work. Um, it was just it was very different from what I experienced before, where if you just put in a lot of effort, you would see some sort of reward or return. Um, and so making sure that you're working on the right thing, making sure that you're working on the right problem is so important when it comes to startups and definitely in a lot of other aspects of life. So making sure that you put in that effort to find the right problem, to make sure you're focused on the right thing. Uh, I think that is actually more important than just working super hard, or because you can run off in the wrong direction. You can work really hard in the wrong direction, and it just won't matter. It won't matter how much effort you put in. But if you're working on the right thing, on the right problem, like even a little bit of effort should take you pretty far. So I think that was one of the early lessons that has stuck with me is spend a lot of time spend a lot of time trying to figure out the right thing to work on versus putting a lot of effort into potentially going into the wrong direction. Um, because if you're heading in the wrong direction, you won't be fundable. You won't be selling something that customers want. But even if you're on the right direction and you haven't like achieved product market fit or put enough effort into that, you'll start to see returns. You'll start to see people being receptive to what you're doing. So I try to emphasize, finding the right problem to work on, validating demand before you build a product, doing that work up front, because it'll save you a lot of heartache in the long run.
Absolutely. And that is a golden nugget. I think not only just for AI startups, but I think for every startup out there. Because it's kind of, that okay, I just want to leave the 9 to 5 job and I want to start something of my own. Okay, okay, this is an idea. Okay, now let's look for investors. Okay, and although the sequence of the steps are right, I'm working, I'm hustling as a founder day and night, sacrificing a lot of my time, my energy. There are people along with me working day and night. However, I think a lot of times as a founder we often miss getting back to the basics, whether the idea is actually going to solve any existing problem, there may be a gap in the market or maybe an actual problem which addresses directly to the customers in the target segment that I have chosen. So I think that is something that is 101, like startup 101 that you have highlighted.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's yeah, it's interesting. You still see a lot of people get it wrong. I mean, a lot of people, they fall in love with their idea, and then they spend a lot of time trying to build the product, and then they go take it to market, and then they discover it's probably not what people actually wanted. And I think if people validated demand before investing a lot into product development, they would actually build more things that actually resonated with the market. So, like, for Paxton, we my prior company, I mean, we just put up like a very simple, like, minimum viable product, which was like, we built it with like a no code tool. It only worked on one data source, and we took that to people and we asked them, "Is this what you want?" Um, and only then did we start investing more into engineering and more into product development after we had validated that need. Similar thing for Tenki. Before we did any product development, we just put up a landing page and asked people to sign up for a wait list. And if people aren't willing to, uh, put their information into a wait list because you're solving a problem that they care about, it probably is an indication that you should be looking at something else. It's not sufficient evidence that it's a problem worth solving, but it's an indicator that there's something there that you can do more exploration on. But, if you put up something into the world and like people aren't even willing to like put down their email because it's not a problem that they actually care about, then I think that's a good indicator you should go focus on something else. And it's such a low cost thing to do versus like spending all that engineering and product development time building something. So I really try to encourage people to do the market validation before they go build something. But you still see a lot of entrepreneurs think like, "Oh, I have this brilliant idea. I'm going to go build this product," and then people will see how brilliant it is, or how it meets a market need. And I think that rarely works.
Yeah, and it's safe to say look before you leap.
Exactly.
And Michael, no, and I think this conversation is such a kind of, this personification of the theme of this blend. But I mean, you have spoken about being a gay entrepreneur in a field that isn't exactly known for vulnerability. Um, how has your identity shaped the way you lead teams and navigate risk?
Yeah, I think, um, I used to try to put on like a very polished, perfect persona. And, I've found that people respond better to authenticity, to vulnerability. It makes you more human, and it shows people that there's a real person behind, behind the company, behind what you're working on. So I've, even though it can be scary to do it first, I've really found that people respond more to authenticity and to vulnerability than trying to create this like perfect image. Uh, and I think people are craving more of that authenticity in today's environment. So I've, it's not something that I always lived, but I think I found so much reception. Some people might not care, and they probably just go, like you might think that people will have like a bad reaction to that, but like, you know, people aren't, if it doesn't resonate with them, people will like move on to something else in their day. But the people who it does resonate with, you'll have this connection with them. So I found that I just found just a lot of reception, a lot of great response to being vulnerable, to being authentic. Um, and it seems like it's something people want today. Um, so it's definitely something I try to encourage. I try to encourage people at my companies, my team, to be their authentic selves and to try to create an environment of psychological safety, of a place where people can uh, be their best selves, have permission to try things, make mistakes, but make sure that we're always learning. Um, and I think having that background as a gay entrepreneur, I think really made me thoughtful about the type of environments that I want to create and the type of companies that I want to create. Uh, you know, really focused on hiring the best people, on finding the best talent, and enabling them to do their best work and be their best selves. Uh, and that's what I found creates the best products, generates the best financial returns. And it's just, life's so short. So, you should be working in an environment. You should be doing something that you love, and trying to create those environments has been really meaningful and important to me.
Totally. Totally. I really love that. It's really, really inspiring, because there's this kind of, an archetype, especially when we talk about tech or Silicon Valley founder, archetype. But this is really, really grounded. And I think, moreover, it's more human. And I think, listeners who wouldn't fit that stereotypical mold will really, really feel seen hearing that, so it's really, really empowering, I should say. And before we wrap up, Michael, if listeners, they would like to explore more about Tenki AI and they would also like to connect with you, what would be the easiest medium?
Yeah, thank you. We're available at trytenki.ai, trytenki.ai. You can find me on X or Twitter at Michael Ulin, or on LinkedIn. Um, Love to hear from folks. I think getting feedback about what resonated with people is super helpful. So please say hello.
Wonderful. Listeners, what I'm going to do is I'll have all the links in the show notes so that you can connect with Michael and also go explore Tenki AI. And Michael, I think I may have missed this. I think it's actually quite an interesting one, especially with the prediction markets forecasting tools. Now, there is kind of this argument that, these tools, they can actually reinforce existing power structures, like favoring people with more data access or technical literacy. um, do you see Tenki as democratizing decision intelligence, or maybe the opposite of that?
No, definitely democratizing. I mean, like these are these forecasting techniques that my co-founder and I, have studied extensively, have applied throughout our careers. you used to need a PhD economist or statistician to go apply these, and it's very, it was very expensive. It was very labor intensive to go get a proper forecast, and so most people most people don't do it. Most decisions are made without applying like a rigorous framework, just because of the effort involved. But if you think about the most successful business leaders, decision makers, investors, they're constantly applying frameworks to their decisions, to their investments. And so our hope with Tenki is that uh, we can enable a much broader audience to have access to these powerful decision making tools, to really bring that rigor to decision making without having to hire like an expensive consulting firm or wait weeks for a study to complete. Tenki can run in minutes and give you a forecast with the different potential outcomes and the probabilities associated with each based on, the information that we have available at this point in time. So our goal is definitely to make this more broadly available.
Super. Super. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael. This was really, really such a candid conversation. And I think one thing that really keeps echoing for me is, um, I mean, forecasting, or the idea that forecasting, whether it's done by humans or AI, it isn't, predicting destiny, but I think it's about reshaping how we navigate uncertainty. So thank you so much for all the work you are doing. I mean, you're co-founder, and I think this is really, really exciting. And I once again invite all of our listeners to explore Tanky AI. And thank you so much, Michael.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Really enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, yeah, same here. So, listeners, whether you are a founder trying to scale responsibly, a leader making high stakes calls, or someone just trying to understand this chaotic world, i I absolutely hope this conversation, it gave you a new lens, a more grounded one for thinking about the future. And thank you to everyone for listening to BizBlend. I'm your host Sana, and I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.